Bitcoin is in the news again, and if you've been ignoring it, thinking that it will go away, it might be time to give it a second look. You see, almost nobody understands Bitcoin at first. When I first heard about it back in 2012, I brushed it off, thinking that it really wasn't that important. However, 5 years later, when I decided to give it a second chance and see what all the hype was about, I was blown away. Bitcoin was not what I expected. So if you've dismissed Bitcoin in the past, or even if you've done some research and came away unconvinced, that's okay. This video is for you.
This is for you.
I'm going to explain Bitcoin in the way I wish somebody explained it to me back in 2012. I won't use any fancy buzzwords like blockchain or decentralization, and I won't get into the technical details either. For now, it's just not that important. This is just going to be a very straightforward explanation of what Bitcoin is and why so many people think it's so important. And when I'm done, you'll have a perspective of Bitcoin that's more informed than 99% of people out there. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Perfect. Let's begin. So let's start with the most important and fundamental question. What is Bitcoin? And the answer is Bitcoin is an independent financial system.
I get it now.
That was easier than expected. I guess this video is done.
That's all, folks.
Just kidding. We're going to dive a lot deeper than that. But like I said, Bitcoin is a financial system. But so what? What even is a financial system? That's a great question. A financial system is all the people and parts that make it possible for you to participate in the economy. Or more simply, it's everything that makes it possible for you to buy your favorite morning cup of coffee. And when you think about it, there's a lot more parts of a financial system than you might expect. Let's stick with the example of buying your favorite cup of coffee. In order to make that purchase, you need to use a currency, which if you're in the United States is probably dollars. But dollars didn't just pop up out of nowhere. They were created by institutions like the Mint and the Federal Reserve. And chances are you didn't even pay for that coffee with physical dollar bills. You probably paid for that coffee with dollars that you're storing in your bank account. And even then, most likely the bank didn't even process the payment. You probably used some sort of payment processing system, like a credit card or Venmo, which facilitated the transaction between you and the coffee shop. Are you beginning to notice that even in a simple transaction, a lot of people and institutions are getting involved?
I noticed.
And if we zoom out, even more people start to come into the picture. Congress actually got involved because they were responsible for making the laws that the banks and other financial institutions that you were using needed to operate by. And the executive and judicial branches of the government were involved too, because they worked together to make sure that all of those financial institutions were playing by the rules that Congress created. The point is though, modern financial systems are large and complex. And when I say that Bitcoin is a financial system, I mean that the Bitcoin network handles everything that's needed so that you can buy your favorite cup of coffee. For example, Bitcoin replicates the core functionalities of the banks, the payment processors, the government, the Fed, and more. And I know that sounds a little crazy, so let's break it down. First, Bitcoin, or the Bitcoin network, includes its own custom currency, which is also known as Bitcoin. This tends to confuse a lot of people, so just remember that Bitcoin is both the name of the financial system and the currency. And these two things are tightly coupled, meaning you can't have one without the other. For all intents and purposes, they are one and the same. Second, in the same way that the Fed and banks are responsible for creating new dollars, the Bitcoin network is responsible for creating new Bitcoin, and it does this through a special process called mining. Third, the Bitcoin network has a built-in system that allows people to store their funds. You can kind of think of it as a bank, just without the actual bank. Fourth, the Bitcoin network has a built-in system that allows people to send and receive funds. It's a payment processor, just without the companies like Visa or Venmo. And finally, and perhaps most interestingly, Bitcoin operates and enforces a very specific set of rules. It's its own legislative, executive, and judicial branch all in one, and it has a track record of 100% perfect enforcement. To sum it up, Bitcoin is the dollar, the Federal Reserve, the banks, the credit cards, the government, and more, all wrapped up into one. And what's really wild is that it does all of these things without putting any person or group of people in charge. There's no Bitcoin president, government, or employees. In the Bitcoin financial system, no one is in control. It's just a bunch of computer code quietly running in the background, and it can't be stopped.
That's so cool.
Okay, so now we know that Bitcoin is a financial system, but why does that matter? Chances are you're already set up in a financial system. You have a bank account, you have your credit cards, you have your Venmo app. Why should you care? This is really the most important question. And here's the truth. If you're completely happy with the financial system that you're living in, then Bitcoin really doesn't matter that much. You don't need it. But if you're frustrated or unhappy with your financial system, for reasons like maybe you don't like how the dollar keeps on losing value to inflation, or maybe you've had your bank account or credit cards frozen in the past, or maybe you don't even have the right documentation to open a bank account in the first place, or maybe you just think that the financial system is rigged, even if you're not exactly sure how. If any of those are the case, then it might be a smart idea to start looking at alternatives. And with Bitcoin specifically, it's a very interesting alternative because it operates using a very unique set of rules that are opposite to most of the rules of all other modern financial systems. And depending on your specific situation, these rules could benefit you a lot.
Tell me more.
So, what are the Bitcoin rules that make it so unique? Well, there's 8 of them. Bitcoin is open, Bitcoin is neutral, Bitcoin is transparent, Bitcoin is borderless, Bitcoin is permissionless, Bitcoin is immutable, Bitcoin can only be controlled by its rightful owner, and Bitcoin follows its predefined monetary policy. I know, that was a mouthful, and right now those rules probably don't mean that much to you. But trust me, these rules are important. So right now, let's walk through each one and see what it means and how it compares to the traditional financial systems you're probably living in today. Rule 1. Bitcoin is open. This is simple. All this means is that everyone can use all aspects of Bitcoin always. There's no paywall, no age limitations, no special premium features, or anything like that. If you're human, or even if you're not human, you can use Bitcoin. Period. And this is special because in other financial systems, there are always rules about who can use it and when. For example, if you want to have your own bank account, you better be 18 and have all the proper legal documentation. If you're a woman in the United States, you didn't actually have the legal right to open a bank account until 1974. And even today, people around the world are denied access to parts of their financial system for a number of reasons, including their sex, race, income, religion, sexual orientation, and more. Simply put, Bitcoin is open and other financial systems are not. Rule 2. Bitcoin is neutral. This is probably my favorite rule. And all it means is that once you're in the Bitcoin financial system, you have to follow the same rules as everybody else. Or to say it another way, Bitcoin treats everyone equally. Have you ever noticed that rich bankers or the wealthy elite are always getting away with financial schemes that normal people just can't get away with? That doesn't happen in Bitcoin. It's a neutral system. In Bitcoin, those same elites are forced to play by the same rules as everybody else. Rule 3. Bitcoin is transparent. All this means is that there are no black boxes on the Bitcoin network. Every transaction, every line of code, the entire history of every single Bitcoin is fully documented and available for everyone to see and analyze. And the reason why this is important is that being transparent allows everyone to verify for themselves that everything is correct and that everyone is playing by the rules. In comparison, traditional financial systems are opaque, and often people use this lack of transparency to cheat and rig the system while no one is looking. Rule 4. Bitcoin is borderless. Bitcoin doesn't care about location. You can be anywhere. The United States, China, Israel, Iran. Bitcoin will work the same way. In fact, you don't even have to be on Earth. You can make a Bitcoin transaction from Mars and it would still work the same. And the reason why this is important is because around the world, billions of people are trapped in terrible financial systems, and transitioning money and wealth to a better financial system can be incredibly hard. With Bitcoin, however, it doesn't matter where you are or where you're sending money to. It will work, no questions asked. Rule 5. Bitcoin is permissionless. You know how when you're holding a physical dollar bill, you have the ability to give it to everyone without getting any permission from a bank or a credit card company? It's pretty awesome, right? Well, Bitcoin works the same way. You can send your Bitcoin to anyone, and you don't need anyone's approval, and no one can stop you. This is the opposite of all digital payments made in traditional financial systems. Anytime you're sending money digitally, in the background, someone, and usually multiple people, are approving the payment before it goes through. Most of the time, it's not an issue until it is. Bank accounts get frozen all the time, and people get targeted for suspicious activity. If this has ever happened to you, then you already know it's a terrible experience. If it hasn't, congratulations. Cross your fingers and hope it never does. If you hold Bitcoin, though, you don't actually have to cross your fingers. It's a permissionless system, so freezing an account is impossible. Rule 6. Bitcoin is immutable. Immutable is kind of a complicated word, so let me explain it another way. With Bitcoin, there's no undo button. In the same way you can't turn back time and stop yourself from saying that one really stupid thing you regret.
Pal, I eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast.
You eat pieces of shit for breakfast?
Once you make a Bitcoin transaction and it's confirmed, you can't go back in time and undo it either. This rule leads to a lot of really interesting implications, but just know that when it comes to all digital payments in modern financial systems, there's always an undo button. And while many of the powerful institutions don't give you access to the undo feature, if the right situation presents itself, they'll use it, even if it means they have to take away some money that you thought was rightfully yours. Rule 7. Bitcoin can only be controlled by its rightful owner. Simply put, the only person that can spend your Bitcoin is you. If you were part of the Wells Fargo scandal a few years ago, when they were stealing money out of their customers' accounts, then you already know how important this is. And here's another fun fact to highlight the importance of this rule. Did you know that if you go inactive in any of your bank accounts, the bank will consider it abandoned and will forfeit all of the money in that account to the government? I didn't realize this was real either, but it's called the S-cheat law. And right now, there's about $70 billion in abandoned funds being held by the government. Crazy, right? And the cool thing about Bitcoin is it basically says, hey, all of that, it's nonsense. Only you can move or spend your Bitcoin, so it'll never be taken by a bank or forfeited over to the government. It's yours and yours alone. Rule 8. Bitcoin follows a predefined monetary policy. This rule is super important, and all it means is that the amount of Bitcoin in existence at any particular time was predetermined before Bitcoin even started. The reason why this is so important is because the quantity of any currency in the economy directly determines that currency's value. If there's more dollars in an economy, dollars are worth less. And if there's fewer dollars, then each dollar is worth more. This is basic supply and demand in action. And with traditional financial systems, it's impossible to know what the quantity of any currency will be in the future. The people in charge are always adjusting the money supply for a bunch of reasons. And when they adjust it in a bad way, it often leads to recessions, depressions, and other economic disasters. Fun fact, 80% of all the dollars that are currently in existence were created since COVID. And that's a big part of the reason for all of the inflation that we've seen since then. In comparison, Bitcoin works in the complete opposite way of every other financial system. New Bitcoin are pumped into the economy at a very specific rate. And that rate gradually decreases until the year 2140 when the final Bitcoin is mined. And at that point, no new Bitcoin will be created. Ever. This means that for everyone using Bitcoin, inflation will be a thing of the past. You'll never have to worry about the government getting overzealous and destroying the value of your currency ever again.
I like the sound of that.
Okay, so let's recap. Bitcoin isn't just money. It's an entire financial system. It's your bank, your dollars, the Federal Reserve, and your government all wrapped up into one. And it's special because it operates by a very specific set of rules which are completely opposite from all other traditional financial systems. And here's the good news about the Bitcoin network. If you heard those rules and thought, I don't like them, I don't want to be part of a financial system that's open, treats everyone equally, works everywhere around the world, and whose currency's value can't be deflated away, then you don't have to use it. Bitcoin is an opt-in system. It's not being forced onto anyone. But if you heard those rules and thought, hey, that sounds pretty cool, maybe I want to take part in the Bitcoin network, then you can join it super easily and no one can stop you. Since Bitcoin started in 2009, countless people have learned about Bitcoin, decided it was preferable to the financial system that they were living in, and have moved some or all of their net worth into it. And it's those people that prefer Bitcoin that give Bitcoin its value. Maybe one day you'll be part of this group of people too. Okay, that was my video. Hopefully you found some value from it. If you came into this video skeptical about Bitcoin or just completely new on the topic, then there's a good chance this prompted a lot more questions, like how does it work and how does it enforce all of these rules? These are fantastic questions, and if you click subscribe and tell me what questions you have, I'll answer all of them in upcoming videos. And if you don't want to wait and you want to have your answers now, then you can buy a copy of my book, What is Bitcoin? Your First Step Down the Rabbit Hole, where I explain everything about Bitcoin that you need to know. I'll drop a link to the book in the description. It's really the book that I wish I had when I first got into Bitcoin many years ago. Anyways, thanks so much, guys. I'll see you all for the next one. I'm out.